This episode, holiday wishes for your customers. We decided to do a show that will help your business, and that would be no matter what business you're in, by the way. In this episode, the Handyman Pros discuss contacting your customers during the holiday season. Welcome to the Handyman Pros radio show, home improvement and maintenance tips from the pros. Thanks for listening to another edition of the Handyman Pros radio show, where our goal is to help save you time, money, and aggravation on your home maintenance and repair. This edition is entitled Holiday Wishes for Your Customers. To help me explain, I'm here with my ever-cheerful co-host and old buddy, John. John, what has been going on this week, John? What has been going on? It's the only script we have, by the way, folks.
It's the only script? Does it sound scripted?
Of course it does. That's why I change it up every single time, by God.
Well, you know, this week, which is not scripted.
Yeah, that's correct.
is just outdoor trim work. You know, like I said, I've been working close to the house here with some other neighbors, and we all have the same thing going on, and it's just you know, time for all the old trim around the outside to go, especially around the front poles and that hold up the front canopies, over the front door and all that kind of stuff and all that jazz. But it's all rotted away, of course, so, it's time to rip it all off. And so they're like, hey, can you do that? I'm like, yep. So
sure can. Yep.
It's one thing after another,
So question on that. Just out of my own curiosity. Are those are they 4x4s or 6x6s that are wrapped with wood? Is that what it is?
4x4s.
4x4s, yeah, and they're wrapped with like what? Like just pine trim wood or something like that?
Yes. That's exactly right. And then there's big trim on the bottom, and then there's trim on top of that.
Yeah, to make them look ornate.
Correct. So it's really the stuff, the smaller trim on the top that just gets eaten away. It's the same old story. It's when you put that contractor stuff on there at the very beginning, it all looks good for a few years, or may even last for 10 years. But you get a little water infiltration, and boy, there you go. So, and that's the end of it, so.
Yeah. So I just mentioned that this has nothing to do with our topic today, but I mentioned it, folks. So if you're out there and you're looking at your front porch, if you've ever wondered how they make those columns, that's actually how the columns are made. In most cases, they're either a 4x4 or a 6x6, and they're wrapped with trim wood. And the trim wood generally is not PVC. It is just like the pine boards that you get down at Home Depot, and they're not really weather resistant to speak of. And as John just said, they're really there to last a couple of years before they start to rot away. And and we've done a lot of that work, and I think sometimes people don't understand that's what it is. Anyway, with that said, it is the holiday season, John.
Yep.
And we thought we might give a little business primer tip just on contacting your customers, right?
Yeah, exactly. I guess it's a couple of things that we've all learned over the length of our professional careers and in
that
business.
Would be decades, John. Over the
decades.
That'd
be decades.
Yes, that's right.
It's just stay in contact with folks. A lot of times you might not have worked with some companies or people or whatever what have you. It's nice to touch base, and people will remember you. And also, you'll get some additional business from it, because it's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that, and I've been meaning to call them, or something like that. But now's the perfect time of the year to send out some holiday wishes, whether that be however you'd like to do it.
Yeah.
Through emails, through cards. I like to send cards, but I do it, and I keep all my customers' addresses in our accounting software, so it's easy for me to pull out everybody and just write up some cards, print them up.
So do you buy? I'm asking out of curiosity. Do you buy a pre-made card, or do you hand address? Go through the whole thing. I want to hear how you actually do it, because everybody has a little different take on it, and my take is sometimes radically different than what most people's are. So I just want to hear how you actually do it. So do you buy a card, number one?
Yeah, I just buy generic cards. and I'll actually run them through, I'll run them through a printer with a script font, so it kind of looks like I, printed them all out. I mean, wrote them all out, excuse me. But I will do a personal note on the inside.
Okay. And do you hand address the envelopes? Well, no, yeah, I guess so. You send an actual card, is that correct?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I kind of like, because you know what? It's kind of a lost art these days. But, to send an actual anything through the mail. But yeah, I guess, that's just me. That's a much older guy. And who knows anymore that people might just accept, an email. So however you feel comfortable doing it, but it is important to get back to folks and say, look, hey man, the year's coming to a close. It was great working with you, and look forward to next year, and have a safe holiday, and so on and so forth. And that goes a long way. People generally, they won't get that kind of communication from other people. So.
Well, I always ask, when's the last time you actually got a card like that?
Well, and that's exactly right. And that's how you kind of reflect on it, right? And say, how many times did you get a card from somebody? I get a lot of emails from like my insurance guy. But I know that so you can tell when things are sincere and when they're not.
Correct. Yeah. And
So-
that's and with so many different ways to contact people today, that's why I actually ask. It's kind of one of those things where I like you believe in the actual. If you're gonna, number one, first off, folks, if you're gonna, it's my opinion, okay, if you're gonna do it, do a quality piece. Don't just slap something out there because it's the holiday season. I think that actually doing something poorly comes across that way, and it actually is a reflection on everything that you do, right? That's my opinion. Again, that's just my opinion. But I believe, just like the work that you're doing out there in the field, and communication is probably one of the biggest things that we have challenges with in the contractor/handyman business period, is that we generally are not the greatest communicators. And even myself, I find myself slacking recently because I've been so busy that my communication ability to communicate has been tough to deal with. And fortunately, my wife has actually taken up my scheduling, so she's recently retired and has more time to handle it, and it just really has been very, very helpful. But the reason I bring it into this conversation is if you just like just for example, emails are bad. Emails can fall into one of two cases, right? They're either good and they're very valuable, or they're junk, right? So avoid sending out a junk email. Just sending out a holiday wish email just because it's a holiday wishes is kind of I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'd be more interested to say, hey, in July, send, hey, it's Christmas in July, because even though everybody uses that promotion, at least you'll get more read on it then, or send something in March, send a happy Easter email. I think you get a little better play, or Easter, or whatever, spring, first day of spring email, something like that. Emails tend to be a little better on days when people don't expect it. Holiday season, my emails get bombarded this time of year with mostly solicitations from retailers wanting to sell me stuff that I don't want, and that just bugs me. And so I sometimes wonder that in the email case that maybe that's not what would happen in the handyman side, but I'm not 100% sure because I actually don't do holiday greetings. I usually do them in the first of the year, over the first of the year, past New Year's, just because everybody gets bombarded. So that's just my take on it. I don't think it's a bad idea either way, but I think just stay in contact is the key point there. But the holiday season is a great time. This time of year, if I'm doing it, I'm going to send a card, and I'm actually going to handwrite the addresses on the card. I would handwrite the addresses because I know how many times do you get an envelope that has a script writing on it, and you go, it's junk mail, and away it goes. And that's just, again, that's my opinion, but if you're going to do this stuff, it needs to be opened, right? Do you agree with that, John?
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's just anything like that, like a small card. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be. You just think about yourself, right? It's not. It's not what it. It's just it's the thought that counts, right?
Correct.
Hey, man, the guy actually, sent me a card.
Yeah, and he was actually thinking about us.
Yeah. So it's one of those things, and on the other side of things is that it's good to keep communication with the handyman. I mean, we've talked about this over and over again. It can be a very valuable asset to the health of your house. Let's put it that way. To have somebody as your consultant.
So you're saying that our customers should send us thank you notes for being their handyman. Is that what you're saying, John?
I don't see why not, Larry. I mean, honestly, I think it's a good relationship to have, and I'll bet there's a lot of folks out there that we've interviewed a lot of people this past year that would probably tell you the same thing, that they we've heard a lot of us have keys to people's homes, garage door openers to people's homes, the codes to get in. It's a real trust type of thing. So I don't think it's something that you should you should pass up. I think it's a great opportunity to keep that going.
Yeah, just thinking about you. Thanks for everything you've done for us this year as far as being the homeowner. I know several of my customers. Now that you say that, I'm sort of surprised they don't. Maybe they do, maybe they don't have my address. I should probably send them my address. But a lot of my customers we're that way because we have the codes to the access, and I take their dogs for walks and stuff like that.
Right. No, I'm not expecting it.
No,
but I think that the gist of this episode here is to, for all the handymen out there, to go ahead and throw some cards out there to your customers and prospects and things that are people that you've done business with. Is great.
Yeah, don't forget your vendors either. Right, so the people that you have personal relationships with, and more so, not so much like a big box store or anything like that, because obviously that's not going to get to anybody important. But if you've got a specific contact, I'm thinking of of the big box stores. I'm thinking of my Lowe's for Pros guy, who's a guy I actually have a personal relationship with. I get quotes from him and this and that, and it's just I really appreciate doing business with you if you do. Appreciate doing business with him. And it's just like, he's helped me out on many, many occasions this year, and with this and that and the next thing and doing some jobs and stuff like that. And so that's really critical. Just don't forget those particular vendors that you do a lot of business with, anybody and you have a real personal relationship, because to me, that matters. To me, that matters.
Especially with some of the specialty stores that we talked about over the past, this past year. If you're dealing with specific tile people, and you're doing a lot of that work, and I mean, if you're going to need a favor sometime to finish a job, and you need something, guess who they're going to help first?
Exactly, and that's the point, I guess, is that's who they're going to think.
Exactly.
It's just trying to stay kind of, as they call it, top of mind, and staying out there, in a non, you're not trying to sell anything here, it's just an appreciation card, really, is what it is, and it makes a huge difference because nobody does it anymore. It really does it's been lost. It just, anyway. John, do you have any other tips on this particular case? Not really. I will, in some form or fashion, I'll actually call people up and just have a nice conversation with them. You can't believe, a call out of the blue at this time of year. Especially now, I'm thinking of some of the elderly people that I work for, that are kind of alone type of thing, that really, that goes for miles, and it's not for me to get more business out, and that's don't get that wrong. It's actually from I actually care how are they how they're doing, their welfare, right?
So this time of year for a lot of folks that are elderly can be a very tough time of year.
Right.
So for all the reasons that can happen in life. So I will actually and I'm thinking of a couple of them right now that I'll just pick up the phone, and it's a 10-minute conversation, or whatever it turns out to be. But boy, that really brings a lot of light into somebody's life at this time of year.
Yeah, and that's a really interesting point, because actually in our show notes I had what kind of contacts are appropriate. And mostly we think of cards, right? But you're just mentioning that you'll actually pick up the phone, and I do the same thing. I tend to do that. How do I want to say this? I'm going to call it regularly. It's not. I don't have a specific time frame in mind, but I'll be thinking of somebody and just call them and say, "Hey, is everything okay?" Whatever, and for a lot of different reasons, But it's just it's to your point. If you get to a point where you have that relationship and you care about your customers, and this applies to your family as well. If you haven't talked to somebody in a while, picking up the phone is not an option, or not an option that should be discounted anymore. There's nothing quite like conversation, right, John? I mean, I guess you and I are older, but I always fight with my kids about this. Texting is not the same. It's just not the same.
No. And it's almost getting to the point that everything's coming full circle. That nobody sends anything through snail mail anymore, but when you do, it makes a big impact. Right? Because it's like, wow, somebody sent me a letter.
I got a letter.
And
I got a handwritten letter.
Now it's like, wow, somebody actually picked up the phone and called me.
Yeah.
And especially, like I said, especially with the older folks, we all grew up with, a telephone.
Exactly.
We didn't have text. We didn't have any other way to communicate. You had the telephone, and especially now with people that are in their 70s and 80s that I do work for, they're they really like to talk, and it's just like I said, at this time of year can be very difficult for some people, and it's consider that trying to be a good citizen and a friend.
Yeah, right. Awesome. All right. Well, so that's good. Any other ways to contact people? I guess you could text them. I mean, I've done text effectively on like Christmas Day. I'll wish everybody a Merry Christmas if it's really short, but I'm not trying to get into a long conversation. But that's a text that I have done in the past. I used to do that pretty often. And I'd just say, Merry Christmas in a text. But I do that on Christmas Day, and then I'd say Happy New Year's, whatever day you celebrate too, by the way. It's whatever.
Right. Of course you do that with your friends, maybe you got a group text going with a bunch of friends.
I don't get anything from you. What are you talking about?
I won't share the text that come through that group, of course, here, but on the most part, but it's hey dudes, Merry Christmas, type of thing. But But I think but getting back to the topic at hand, I think it's really important to to go ahead and reach out to the people that especially your customers.
All right. Well, anything else?
No, that's really it. I know this hasn't been a lengthy show, and maybe most people out there are going, thank God, but.
What, John? You know what I have to do today?
Yeah, what's that? Merry Christmas to the aliens.
Allie, my partner in my truck, Allie N. Allie needs to be decorated for Christmas now. Now that you say that, I have got to get Allie dressed up. She's going to have to get an ugly Christmas sweater. It's going to be terrible because her eyes won't light up quite the right way. But Allie's going to have to get decorated up for Christmas.
Oh my God, Larry! There's so much I can do right here. I'm going to leave. I'm just going to leave it. I am just going to leave it. Okay, I'm out.
John is signing off. He says Larry has rounded the bend.
Yeah.
Folks, if you're
the Rubicon.
So we're going to give you the backstory on that one real quick. If you're ever driving around Atlanta and you happen to see a Nissan NV 2500, the tall version, white truck with an alien driving in the passenger seat or standing in the passenger seat, you have
call the men in the white coat.
You have passed by one of your Handyman Pros radio show hosts. That would be Larry, and because she stands in my truck, I really want to get the side door that says her name, Allie N, right? ALLY-EN, like they did, like in the airplanes back in the day, where they put the pilot's name on the side. Anyway, with that, folks, if you enjoy the Handyman Pros radio show, don't forget to tell your friends and neighbors. We would really appreciate it. Send them the link to the show so they can listen into this insanity that we talk about. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, we would really like more tips. We get a lot of good feedback from our people, but we would like more. What is it that you would like to hear? What would you like to us expound upon? What sort of things do you have issues with in your business or in your home, or any kind of maintenance issues that you might be having on your home, send us an email. That's questions@handymanprosradioshow.com, or you can send it to handymanprosradioshow@gmail.com as well. So either way, we'll get that. We do have a website. It's handymanprosradioshow.com. We've got a newsletter subscription there. Sign up for the newsletter. We are sending out some stuff. We're actually going to send out some stuff probably towards the end of this week, we hope. Anyway, with a newsletter with a couple of things that we've been talking a little bit about on the shows, but we're going to add some more information to give it to y'all out there. We're going to do some upcoming shows. Our Facebook group also is getting bigger and bigger as we grow. It's at Handyman Pros, and that is growing by leaps and bounds on a daily basis. Lots of good discussions going on there. We post all kinds of things, and some of them not even handyman related, by God. But anyway, we do want to thank you for listening. We will see you next week on the Handyman Pros Radio Show.